Hi guys, and welcome back, or welcome if you're new. Today I'm working on an acrylic gouache painting. We'll talk all about it, but my Kickstarter is officially live. It went live yesterday, so the Grim Dreamers playing card deck Kickstarter is up, so you can go check it out. There's a link in the description that'll take you over there so you can go see what rewards are available, and I am so thrilled about this project. I loved working on it. I'm really excited to start moving it forward to reality, to getting it printed. So yeah, thank you guys, everyone who's already backed it. Thank you anyone who is considering it or goes and checks it out. I really appreciate that. So yes, without further ado, let's talk about what I'm working on today in this video. So this painting is in connection to my Kickstarter. He's the largest original painting that I'm offering over there. And I love offering original paintings with all of my Kickstarters. There's just a lot of digital work that goes into Kickstarters. Even if the project itself is traditional, there's just so much stuff that's done on the computer. I really enjoy being able to have at least a few things that I can reliably get down to my studio and paint for that end. So that was the beginning of the prompt of what this piece is, what it's featuring, what it's for, a little bit of the colors that I picked. So the overall project of the playing cards is inspired by the motif Death and the Maiden. So he is the death character. He's also on the two Joker cards that are on the deck, but yes, that's who he is. That's what he represents. And I actually really enjoyed doing these originals, this one and the other 4 smaller ones, because they were characters that I had already drawn. So I knew them a little bit, and I wasn't just starting from scratch. I had something to reference off of, and I found that was challenging in a good way. It helped me to pay attention to some of the specific details that were in his face so that it could have at least a similar likeness to each other. So I started off with that. I started off with looking at the 2 Joker cards that I had already drawn, and then I sketched this out on my iPad actually, which is kind of untypical for me. And I think it was in Clip Studio Paint. Anyways, doesn't really matter. I sketched it out and I printed them out to about the right size. And I had this panel for a while now, at least a year. I've been saving it for something special and it felt like the right time. I loved this like gothic arched shape. It felt perfect for the character, for the project. So I picked that where I can just get that sketch finalized. I can work on the details. I can get really immersed in that. This is a total sidestep of the process that I'm doing in this piece, but I love that part. And I feel like there's a lot of things that get lost in translation between that pencil sketch and the way that it looks and the final product. So I might do some thinking on how I can bridge the gap between the two. But after I finish that pencil sketch, I spray the panel down with some workable fixative. What that does is it keeps it from smudging and smearing into the clear gesso that I apply after that. So I spray it, I let it dry, and then I apply a couple of coats of clear gesso, and then I sand it down between each coats. I love the clear gesso. This is key for this process because I've already sketched it onto the wood. I use the clear so that you can see the sketch itself. You can also see the color of the wood behind it, which is something I really like because then it has almost this like primed quality. I'm not starting from white. It's just that wood and the wood grain texture and the pencil. I love working that way. It feels like I'm not working from scratch. But the colors that I knew that I was going to put into this piece was the dark burgundy red color for the background, and then more of this blueness in his face, kind of a soft ultramarine blue. And I think that both areas deviated from what I imagined in my head, and I think that that's just the natural process of working with traditional mediums, working just from the list of colors in my head. It's going to change and evolve as I'm painting it. And I was happy with the results. The background went through more iterations than I thought it would. I thought that I was just going to apply that base color, the color that I imagined, this burgundy, this dark red, and that it would be done. But I applied it and then I realized it was just too like middle value dark it was too close to what the cloak was going to end up being. So I knew that I needed to lighten it up in some degree, but I wanted it to be a little bit more dynamic than simply painting right on top of it. As I've explored more with acrylic gouache, I found that I really enjoy seeking out different ways of creating texture and layering, and there's a lot that you can do with these paints. So instead of just covering all of it with a lighter color that'll help the value balance in the piece work better, I decided to take a lighter color and then create like this dappled texture on top. And it wasn't perfect. The first go, it didn't quite translate exactly how I imagined, but I was really excited about the direction that it was going. It felt like something that had more interest if you look at it closely, and I liked that. I'm seeking that out more. I'm trying to make things feel a little bit more complex if you spend a little bit more time looking at the pieces. And then the skin, it was not like a perfect shot from beginning to end where it ended up exactly how I wanted it, but I didn't repaint it as much as the background. And that's something that I'm trying to be much more on top of. There have been pieces in my recent past where I will paint the face and I rework it too many times. I add too much paint and I apply it too thickly. That's one big thing, so that it ends up textured and modeled, and I feel like when you look at it, you can see that it was repainted multiple times. So I'm trying to be more thoughtful about what I'm doing on the face and how I'm painting them, particularly the eyes, and trying to not do the paint it and then see if I like it and then repaint it kind of thing with the face. Because I feel like with the background, when there's actual paint texture, I like it, I'm fine with it, but on the face, I want it to be a much more smooth and even application. So I try to take my time a little bit more, which meant there's more time that I spent not painting and looking at the face and trying to figure out what it needed, what direction I needed to take it in. And in the end, being more thoughtful that way ended up with a result that I was happier with than some that I have been in the past. So I think that that's a lesson that we all need to learn, probably multiple times, but just I found that me taking my time, stepping away from the painting, looking at it from far away, that made a significant difference in this one, where I could see where there were issues with the contrast in the values. I could see what things weren't working, what needed a little bit of extra work. It was helpful. I felt that I was a little bit more present with this piece, and I'd like to build that skill up. I tend to be pretty rushed and haphazard, and I'd like to be a more careful painter, just a little bit more. So I tried to keep all of the paints that I use for different areas in my head. In the past, I've tried to keep like a list of what paints I've used for specific areas. That way I can remix them much easier. And I try to minimize how many different paints I mix together to get that paint color. It helps it so that when I need to remix, it's significantly easier to color match. If I'm using like 3 colors to get to that final result, it's basically impossible for me to zero in on exactly how to get that again. So if there's a mistake, I basically can't cover it up. So the more that I've used my acrylic paints, the more I've adjusted to that, to trying to simplify the colors that I'm mixing, which also has the benefit of allowing the colors to be less muddied. The more pigments you mix together, essentially the duller and the muddier the paint can be. So that helps me in several fronts. But anyways, there were some areas that I wish that I had taken note of what exactly I used, because I couldn't quite exactly remember, and it would have been helpful. And then I got to the final details. I love this step. It's the part that just makes a painting come alive. There have been so many times where I've gotten a painting to essentially completion. Everything's been painted, but it just feels a little lackluster. And then I add in those final details and it just comes alive. It adds a little bit of spark and life to it. So I like to add these little lighter, like glowing dots in the air, almost like dust when the sunlight is coming in through the window. So I like to add those in a few places. And then I like to do, some sparse highlights, the white highlights, the ones that are just that really sharp, bright contrast, and it's very sparing. I have found that I really need to reel it back in, so I try to be very particular about where I'm putting those white highlights. So I add those in, I add some eye shine highlights, some final touches, and I love doing that. I really look forward to it. So let's talk really briefly about this project that I worked on. So the playing card deck, the Grim Dreamers, it has been months and months of work on it. And I finished the cards, and then I moved into working on originals that were connected to the cards. And then I worked on not in this order, but then I worked on the box and the back of the card art. There was just a lot of art that went into it, but it was all very narrow. So what I mean by that is when you're working on a big project, when you start off at the very beginning, there are so many possibilities. There's so many different ways that you can go with it. And then as you start it, you really just have to narrow it down so that it can be a cohesive project. And things get figured out, and then you just have to produce the work that fits into that constraint, those constraints. So I've been working like that for months, where the focus of my creative energy has been figured out already. It's been pretty tight as far as what variations I can put into it, which is relatively minimal. So I'm feeling very excited about the openness that comes when you finish a project. So this huge thing is done. The artwork is done. I'm still doing the Kickstarter. I'm running it right now, of course. And I'm still looking at the artwork. I'm still posting it. It's still very much on my mind, but the active part of it, the creative part of it is done. That chapter is over, which means it opens up all of this freedom again. Not only am I free at the start of a project, I'm free before I've even conceptualized a project. I could choose any project. I could choose any direction. And there are a lot of things that I'm interested in, and a lot of things that I don't know if I'm interested in anymore. And I don't know. I'm feeling like I'm on a raft in open water and I don't know which direction to go. And I don't think this is a bad thing, but I think that I need to take the lesson that I learned from this painting and I need to think about it. I need to figure out what's the next step for me. What's the next artistic pursuit that will ideally be the most fulfilling, will challenge me in a way that I find engaging, will create a final artistic product that I am proud of. I don't know. I have thoughts. I have things that I'm really excited about and things I'm really daunted and terrified about, but I really want to do, and things that I don't know. I don't know if I even want to do it anymore. So I don't know. But what the takeaway is, I guess, is just I'm working on the next project already. I think that's something that I do need when I finish one and I'm in this limbo of running a Kickstarter. I need something like creative to just dig my claws into. Or else I feel like I get very anxious and nervous when I'm running a Kickstarter. So we're just going to focus on the next project. We're focusing on the next creative thing. And I will tell you guys more about it in the next upcoming weeks. I'll talk about what my things are that I'm thinking about and the things that I'm going to pursue. So yes, that's where I'm at right now in the strange limbo between a completed project and the openness of what comes after. And don't forget, my Kickstarter is live right now. This is the second day. We're still working on getting the funding goal. And then after that, we're going to be working on getting the first stretch goal, which I'm really excited about. This is where I can add 2 full art cards into all of the decks. So that'll just be in addition. It'll be part of all the regular decks. And I got a suggestion over on Kickstarter to do a card that includes Death and the Maiden interacting together. And I thought that was a great idea. So that's what I'm excited for. I'd really love to gun for at least that first stretch goal so we can get that extra artwork in there. But yeah, again, that link right in the description. Thank you everybody who has already backed it. You do not know how much that means to me, that support. It's everything to me. So thank you all. Thank you for checking it out. And that's it for today. So I'll be back next week with more art chat, more art videos, and I'll see you guys then.